Every year, the Telstar Middle School Advanced Art class chooses an organization or idea that they either support or wish to change. This year, the TMS students chose to support the 4-H camp in their agreement to allow the 9th graders at Telstar to experience a new way of learning. The students believe that their education should be connected, so their classes aren't teaching them things that have nothing to do with each other at all. The students also believe that their education should revolve around what their interests are and what they're passionate about, and not focused on someone else's sparks. The 4-H Camp and Learning Center has set this as their goal for education, and the TMS Advanced Art class visited them to find out what they think helps a student's education be the best it can be, and how they plan to help the 9th graders improve their educational experience.
Our Learning Center here at Bryant Pond has a rich history of providing outdoor education and conservation education to students and people who come in for summer camp here in Maine. But in the past 5 or so years, we've started working with schools in a much more extensive way. We've started working with schools in year-long programming that supports what happens in the classroom. We have just an amazing facility here with all kinds of opportunities for experiential learning, learning by doing, outdoor learning, so doing science classes with an actual outdoor laboratory. We've got a couple of different freshwater ecosystems from Lake Christopher to Pine Brook to a pond on the property. We have opportunities for challenge and leadership development. Full ropes course. Many of you have been here to camp or to some of our programs and been on the ropes course, maybe been down the zip line, those kinds of things. So those are opportunities for students to step out of their comfort zone. We all know that we can get a little complacent, a little bit maybe bored, or start to take school for granted a little bit when we're day after day after day doing the same thing, sitting in a chair behind a desk in a classroom. So this is an opportunity for Telstar students and students from other schools as well to really step outside of that box and to start learning in some new and different ways.
Sitting still is not what any of us are very good at, so that's why we're all here. That's why I hire the people I do, is because they're super hands-on. Experiential ed is a passion of theirs, so some of them have more of the science background, so they are more of the environmental ed side of things, and some of my staff are more of the the adventure ed side, which is my background. So a lot of them have been trip leaders in the past for canoeing and backpacking expeditions. They rock climb, they bike. They're just really active people in general. But a lot of them were not your typical classroom style learners themselves, and a lot of my staff struggled in school. So being able to teach in that hands-on sense is super important, and our farm is awesome for that. Our new barn that's going up is going to be an incredible classroom space. And around we have a wonderful campus, so being outside any season is something that we do really well.
Today's been a really fun day. I've enjoyed so far what we've been doing. Yeah, it's just been great. Doing hands-on, because that's my favorite thing to do, and I'm learning better by doing hands-on than a textbook and paper.
I suppose that whenever we do a lesson here at this camp, we always try to make it sort of hands-on. So that's one of the big H's, obviously. We also try to get everybody's head and heart involved. So in something like wind energy, you could really go into how people personally feel about it, because some of these students, their families might feel a particular way about wind energy, for good or bad, and so that's your heart. That's how you feel about something. Do you believe that wind energy is really good and worth it, or do you believe that it's just a big inconvenience and a big hassle? Right? And that belief, I think, is part of the heart. And health, that could be interpreted in different ways. You could think about the health of the landscape, just the health of our bodies. You could argue that non-renewable energy sources create pollution that harms our bodies. But it's not like we have this little form that I fill out, how are you incorporating head, hands, heart, and health in your lesson? But I think generally, in all our lessons here, we try to incorporate making it experiential, and that means hands-on. The wind power lesson I'm teaching today is basically getting the students to appreciate that wind power is this really multifaceted issue. It's very complex. There's dealing with all the people who are affected by wind power projects, the fact that it's a source of energy, the whole renewable versus non-renewable, the impact it has on wildlife and the environment, as well as, like I already said, the impact it has on people. Landowners, people whose views are potentially ruined by these huge wind farms and the like. And trying to get them to appreciate that there's no easy answer to whether wind energy is this, fix-all, sort of magic bullet. It's really not. It's this multifaceted issue, and it requires a lot of different perspectives. So that's basically what I'm going to have them do is I'll assign them different roles. I'll tell one person that they're a wildlife biologist and another person that they're a landowner, and try to get them to have this discussion about how they feel about this imaginary wind farm that we have proposed. And then we're going to spend some time actually constructing small wind turbines. So getting them to experience rather, the building, the math that's involved, and the engineering that's involved in actually constructing these turbines.
The real point of learning something like algebra or like statistics or history or social studies is to be able to apply it in some way in the world. The point of it is not to pass the test. It's really to be able to take that knowledge and learn how to do something with it. And so I think one of the problems with education, and one of the ways that education is changing for the better, and we're happy to be a part of it, is that it's going to become more applied, and students are going to be asked to demonstrate proficiency, to demonstrate that they understand and can apply the knowledge and skills that they're learning in classes in some really creative ways. I'm hoping that after participating in this program, that our students will feel engaged with their own learning first and foremost, that they feel that learning is not something that's sort of happening to them, if you know what I mean, but something that they're creating on their own. Our goals are to really reach each and every student, and to work with each student, each ninth grader, to really tap into his or her own passions and sparks, and to learn how to apply those in school. So in other words, I remember when I was in ninth grade, my classes seemed to not really relate one to the other very well at all. The bell would ring and I'd get up from history class and move over to math class, Algebra 1 or whatever. And it was, there was just no coordination between any of it. What we're hoping is that we are going to put together a program where everything is related to everything else. All of the academic learning, all of the classroom learning relates to the projects that we're carrying out. And language arts and science and social studies and math are all related to each other. Because honestly, when all of you leave high school, when you go to college, when you go out in the workforce, that's the way things actually work. There's very few jobs that you could ever have where you can just kind of sit in a room and do one thing day after day and it's not related to anything else in the world. You have to work with people. You have to understand how to take information and make sense of it from all different disciplines, all different areas of knowledge.
I think knowledge should be free because we live in a democracy, and the decisions made should be, ideally, made by the people, right? So, man, there's this quote, this Thomas Jefferson quote, I think it was, where he said, the greatest enemy of tyranny is a well-informed citizenry, or something along those lines. I don't remember it exactly. Over hundreds of years, humans have just been amassing knowledge. You have scientists that have existed hundreds of years ago, wrote stuff down and have this knowledge. It's now in our cultural consciousness. It exists because somebody thought it and wrote it down and told somebody else, or taught somebody else. And then that knowledge builds new knowledge. So if we already know this thing, we can look at the universe in a new way and learn new things. So A great example is something like biological evolution, right? When that idea created all of these new ways of thinking. So knowledge should be free because it helps humanity better their situation, and it helps humanity realize who we are and help each other out and make a more peaceful world if we're more aware. We're using that knowledge to make a better situation for all humans and the whole earth in general. I think the 9th grade program, in order to be sustainable, needs the support of all the people involved. The students themselves, the teachers and the educators who are involved, the parents and the community itself, at least need to be supportive of the idea, like the ideal of what it could be. It won't be perfect. It's going to have roadblocks and pitfalls, but that's what happens in any idea. It's not going to live up to its ideal. But if we're all on the same page of what our vision is, what we want out of this, then I think that'll help. And if people just kind of know what to expect, or have an idea of what to expect, I think that'll help make it sustainable.
The TMS Advanced Art students are very excited to be working with the UMaine 4-H Bryant Pond Learning Center to support a program that incorporates integrated learning and fuels our sparks. For more information on this project throughout the year, go to our website at www.showyoursparks.wix.com/Telstar.